Okay, this is an open letter to dog trainers. Obviously, it's a video, but what I'm talking about here is the business of dog training. So, this business is now in its 8th year, and we have done 20x from when I bought the business. So I bought the business in 2017. All right, that's not to brag, that's just to say I am in the business of dog training and I know what I'm talking about in dog training business, right? It doesn't matter dollar amounts, this, that, doesn't matter. Just that I'm gonna tell you some stuff that's worked for me and that is working for me and that could possibly help you in your business as well. The thing that I wanna talk to you about is something that Michael Ellis, Forrest Mickey, and I have come up with as what I think is the ideal plan for dog trainers and also their business model for training dogs in a board and train setting. The biggest problem with the board and train design overall is that the clients aren't really involved or that invested in it in terms of effort. So they don't learn the skills that the dog is going to need to maintain their training throughout the rest of their life. So oftentimes what people do is they have the dog do a 2-week, 3-week, 4-week retreat, something like that, and they do a big lesson at the end, and then they invite the people to come back for follow-up and stuff like that. Now, there was a period of time 10, 15 years ago when this started to build up that the 2-week reigned supreme, right? This 2-week board and train. And there were some people that were willing to do that in terms of clients and some people that weren't. But we were like, look, as dog trainers, we were like, look how much work we can get done in this super short period of time and look at all the stuff that we can train. And what we realized over a period of time was that the 2 weeks wasn't enough for whatever reason that was, right? The dog's not quite as successful as we want them to be. So we pushed for a longer board and train. And I myself did this, and I was, I wasn't like led astray, but I certainly got caught up in the allure of doing more board and trains, more periods of time, do a 3-week, do a 4-week. And that extension in that period of time didn't gain us that much in terms of quality. So an extra week, doing a 3-week versus a 2-week, doesn't necessarily get you 50% more obedience at the end of the day. It just doesn't. And it doesn't also teach the client anymore. So what we've done, and I believe that many, many other facilities should and could do, it is absolutely for the best interest of dogs, it's for the best interest of clients, and therefore it's in the best interest of us as the dog training community to continue to perpetuate this really good side of training, which is 1 week on, 1 week off, 1 week on, 1 week off. Okay, so we've created programs where basically if you're going to do a 3-week total training, you do 3 separate weeks. You do 1 week, you come, you learn all about what the dog learned in that week, and then you go home and you practice for a week. You come back, you bring the dog back, the dog gets dropped off, we do, we build some more behaviors in there, the dog goes back home for a week and you practice. Comes back the final time, another week. So that 3-week retreat actually ends up being a total of 5 weeks, and we're adding in a total of 3 hours at the very least of owner education. So now we're teaching people way more, which is what we all know that is needed to make dogs successful. So now we've broken up the program a bit, but what we've done is actually given ourselves the ability to train the dogs better, take our time, and educate the owner, which is always why dogs end up coming back. It's because the owners weren't following through, they weren't doing what they needed to. And we still provide ongoing support. We have handler classes and we do private lessons and follow-up lessons with these clients. But if you've been doing this for a while, you know that people don't always come back. So we're getting the buy-in up front. This is also going to increase our relationship with each client. We've now seen them more. We're building up a quality relationship with them where they trust us. We get to give them more information. We really are truly the expert. They're going to come to us with questions and things like that when they need us, and we can build from there. Those dogs are going to perform better out in the world. That means they become a billboard for our business. Those dogs going out in the world and walking around their neighborhood and looking sharp, and the handlers understanding the commands and using them appropriately and using the tools appropriately, that's just a billboard for us. That boosts our advertising in the community. Word of mouth has always been the absolute gold standard for referrals. Not Google ads or even ChatGPT, which we're now getting referrals from, which is awesome. But the best is always just word of mouth from our really, really satisfied client and customer. That's it. So this is something that I think that dog trainers should be doing. I hope that we can serve as like an outpost, or we can serve as like somebody who's doing this ahead of time, ahead of other people. And this harkens back to the time when I started, when I was doing private lessons with people, and then I would just train and board the dog when they went away on vacation. So the dog had a much more patterned relationship with the owner, and they're trained over a period of time, and they just come to stay with me for these small periods of time. Maybe it's a week, maybe it's 5 days, whatever. And that worked really, really well for me for many years, until kind of this board and train overtook the industry. But I believe that we could do it better, and that this is one of the ways we could do it better, by breaking it down over a long period of time. Instead of saying, oh, let me get the dog for 8 weeks, or let me get the dog for 12 weeks, or something like that. 3 months, 6 months. And that's the amount of time that sometimes it's gonna take to work through some really hard problems with a dog. But my goal is to do it in these week-long increments. So give me the dog for a week, you take them back for a week. Do that 3 times, awesome. Now we'll do that again a couple months later, and we can do that and push the dog forward. And if they can come for private lessons throughout that time, that client is gonna be so much better equipped to handle that dog for the rest of that dog's life, and better to handle other dogs, because they've had that much face time with me and that much real training time. I'd love to hear your thoughts about this, but in reality, I know that this is the way it's going in the future, and you should jump on board now. If you have more questions about it, definitely reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to you about this, and happy to help you shape or design a program just for fun. Peace.